Why are there not more people talking about the total siege? We've imposed a total siege on Gaza. No electricity, no food, no water, no fuel. Everything is shut down. We're fighting animals, declared Israel's defense minister, after Hamas's devastating October 7th attack, a militant group that governs Gaza. That day, Hamas launched rockets, killed more than 1,400 people, and kidnapped nearly 200 others. Within days, Israel responded with massive airstrikes that destroyed neighborhoods, killed thousands of Palestinians, including entire families, and hit hospitals, crossings, and homes. Israel ordered over 1 million civilians to leave northern Gaza and move south, warning of more attacks to come. But airstrikes soon followed them there too, leaving Palestinians trapped. For decades, movement in and out of Gaza has been tightly restricted, part of a blockade that defines daily life. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu knows full well that most Gazans have no way to leave. The Gaza Strip is one of 2 Palestinian territories occupied by Israel since 1967. This small coastal strip, just 25 miles long and about 7 miles wide, is home to more than 2 million Palestinians, making it among the most crowded places on Earth. For the past 16 years, residents have lived under an intense blockade that lets Israel control electricity, fuel, food, water, and medicine, essentially deciding what enters and what doesn't. This control is rooted in decades of conflict and displace. If you want to stay updated on stories like this, don't forget to hit the bell and turn on notifications. Before Israel existed, Gaza was part of historic Palestine, first under Ottoman rule, then British control. In 1947, as Britain withdrew, the United Nations voted to split Palestine into 2 states, one Jewish, one Arab. Soon after, Zionist militias began expelling hundreds of thousands of Palestinians to establish the new state of Israel. Many fled to this narrow coastal area, what would become Gaza. These refugees were pushed from their towns and villages, often settling within sight of the homes they had lost. Others fled to neighboring Arab countries. Those countries, overwhelmed by refugees, soon declared war on Israel in an attempt to defend the Palestinians, but they were defeated. Afterward, Jordan occupied the West Bank, and Egypt took control of Gaza. Then came 1967. In just 6 days, Israel fought Egypt, Syria, and Jordan, capturing Gaza and the Sinai Peninsula, the West Bank, and the Golan Heights. This marked the start of Israel's occupation of Gaza, an occupation that continues to shape life today. Israel took full control of Gaza's borders, by land, sea, and air. It stationed troops nearby and tightly managed who and what could pass through. Yet, under Israeli rule, Palestinians were soon labeled foreign residents rather than citizens. That status passed from parents to children, leaving generations effectively stateless. In the 1970s and 80s, Israel built Jewish settlements inside Gaza, seizing even more land and deepening resentment. Palestinians were not allowed to run their own airport or seaport. Meanwhile, Israel built industries in Gaza, fueled by cheap Palestinian labor and serving Israeli markets. Out of that hardship grew a social charity called Mujama al-Islamiyah. Funded partly by Israel at first, it provided schools, clinics, and aid, but would later evolve into something else. As tensions rose, Israeli troops increasingly searched and detained locals. By 1987, a deadly crash involving an Israeli truck sparked mass protests, the first Palestinian Intifada, or uprising. During this uprising, Mujama al-Islamiyah transformed into Hamas, a militant organization vowing to liberate Palestinian lands and rejecting Israel's legitimacy. The uprising grew increasingly violent, and Israel imposed a strict permit system that restricted Gazans' ability to work or travel. By its end, over 1,000 Palestinians and about 100 Israelis were killed. Peace efforts followed, including the Oslo Accords of the 1990s between Israel and the PLO, which promised limited Palestinian self-rule. The PLO recognized Israel, but Hamas fiercely opposed the deal. The Palestinian Authority, or PA, was created, granting Palestinians partial autonomy, though Israel still controlled borders and crossings. The Oslo process also pledged a pathway to Palestinian statehood, but that goal never materialized. Instead, Israeli settlements expanded further. After new waves of violence, Israel built a physical barrier around Gaza, tightening the blockade. Then came September 2000. A visit by Israeli politician Ariel Sharon to the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem, a deeply sacred site, ignited protests and deadly clashes. Palestinians in Gaza tore down parts of the fence, but Israel rebuilt it stronger, added watchtowers and troops, and shut down Gaza's airport and seaport. By the end of the Second Intifada in 2005, around 3,000 Palestinians and 900 Israelis had been killed. Israel then removed its settlements from Gaza and withdrew its ground troops. But, maintained control of the borders. In the first elections after the uprising, Hamas, now a political party, defeated Fatah, the party leading the PA. Many voters saw Hamas as a protest against years of failed peace talks. Israel retaliated by banning Gazan workers from entering Israel, then launched airstrikes after militants captured an Israeli soldier. Tensions between Hamas and Fatah escalated into a civil war, and by 2007 Hamas took full control of Gaza. That's when Israel imposed a full blockade, cutting off goods, travel, and trade. Over 2 million Palestinians were effectively trapped. Israel began restricting fuel, food, and medicine, even calculating calorie limits to determine how much food to allow in. "We live a slow death in Gaza," said one resident. "Years of airstrikes and fighting, have just worsened life under blockade. Vital infrastructure, power plants, water facilities, was destroyed repeatedly, and repairs were slowed by restrictions on materials. For every rocket attack, Israel's response was far deadlier for civilians. Even when restrictions eased slightly, conditions never met basic humanitarian needs." By 2022, UN reports showed 78% of Gaza's water undrinkable, 62% of residents reliant on food aid, and rolling blackouts lasting 11 hours daily. "We are completely dependent on Israel," one Palestinian said. This system is widely called collective punishment, when entire populations suffer for the actions of a few. Hospitals run short, patients can't travel for care, and civilians, many of them children, bear the cost. Experts warn that what's happening in Gaza shows elements of genocide, the deliberate destruction of a people in whole or in part. Hamas and all Palestinians are being treated as one and the same. But half of Gaza's population are children. Israel and the US say Israel has a right to defend itself, to eliminate Hamas. But most of Gaza's casualties are not fighters, they're civilians. Hamas didn't exist until the late 1980s. But occupation began in 1967, and mass displacement in 1948. Many experts agree, if this cycle hadn't erupted now, something else would have, because the status quo was never sustainable. The world must recognize this suffering, the hopelessness that fuels escalation. None of this was inevitable. But the tragedy, beyond the loss of life, is that it was preventable, and yet it continues.